Hi, I'm Drew Kelliher.
Hi, I'm Ian Woodward.
Hello, I'm Adam Chin.
Hi, I'm Caila Holley.
And we are A Drop in the Bucket.
We chose to do the fabric bucket project. The problem for the fabric bucket project was creating a bucket made of at least 50% fibrous material that would hold a gallon of water for at least a minute. In our search for solutions, we had previous knowledge of hydrophobic materials such as oils and waxes, and we knew that beeswax was a hydrophobic material that we could use to line the bucket. In the process of searching for solutions to our fabric bucket project, we came across an article describing tin cloth, which is a material that is waterproof and fireproof. It's made from a mixture of beeswax and boiled linseed oil. We sewed a seam along the bottom of a leg of jeans, turned it inside out, and painted it with the boiled linseed oil and beeswax mixture. Then we let it dry. After our bucket dried, we turned it back inside out and filled it with water. Unfortunately, water leaked from both the seams and the walls of the bucket, so we needed to find another way to waterproof.
After discovering that the walls and seams of our bucket leaked, we determined that we needed a different way of waterproofing. Based on the project wiki, we determined that polyurethane would be an excellent solution for waterproofing. We had to find one that was not labeled as a waterproofing agent in order to use it. We decided to use spray and paint-on polyurethane because the spray would be lightweight and coat evenly, but the paint-on would be a heavier coat that would repel water. In building our second prototype, we sewed a seam along the bottom of one leg of jeans and sprayed it with polyurethane. After the polyurethane dried, we poured water into our second prototype. Unfortunately, water began to leak from the seams and the walls of the bucket once again, but this time it did not happen as fast as it did with the wax bucket. We decided that we would need to reinforce the seams in order to hold water efficiently.
So although our second prototype improved on the first, it still did not meet all the guidelines for the FEDD project. So again, our problem was to make the bucket more waterproof. Our search for solutions involved finding a way to minimize the pores in the fabric because the smaller and fewer pores we have, the more waterproof it would be. So we found an article describing the relationship between moisture vapor transmission and the thickness of the polyurethane layers. So we figured that the more layers we had, or the thicker our layers of polyurethane were, the better the bucket would be at holding water. So for our third prototype, again we took a jean pant leg and sewed the bottom of it. We applied the same spray on polyurethane from the second prototype, and in addition to that we applied paint on polyurethane to the outside on the sides and bottom. Hopefully this would give us a thicker layer to help improve the waterproofing. We also applied a silicone sealant along the sides and bottom to reinforce the seams, and we dripped a paraffin wax mixture on the bottom to help the waterproofing along the bottom. So this third prototype was by far our best prototype. Although it still didn't meet the guidelines, it held up to 3/4 of a gallon before leaking. We didn't have enough time before FEDD to improve on it, so this was the final prototype. So one of the challenges we faced was water pressure, especially because our bucket was so narrow. It meant a lot of the pressure was focused on a smaller area. So one of our challenges was dealing with how to stop that water pressure from falling through the bucket.
Another challenge we faced was how do we waterproof a hydrophilic material? We addressed that by coating that hydrophilic material, which was cotton-based denim, with a hydrophobic material.
One of the other challenges that we faced was the seam along the bottom. This was a particularly weak point for us, and we had to reinforce it somehow. We ended up doing this with silicone sealant and wax.
Work! 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 So how did we do? Well, we got third place, so if that means anything, we're pretty happy. We actually had the most points. However, we ended up getting third place because our actual bucket didn't hold a full gallon of water. Our biggest issue / enemy for our design was water pressure. There was a lot of water pressure focused on a very small area, and we could improve that by making the surface area bigger at the bottom. Another thing that we could change would be to add another coating of paint on polyurethane. Last but not least, we would definitely like to have started prototyping a lot earlier.
Here's some advice to future freshmen.
Fabric bucket is not easy. Almost 10 out of 12 groups failed.
My advice to future freshmen is that if you're doing the fabric bucket project, you should try and make your bucket as light as possible, because the way they score it, the weight of your bucket holds a huge part of your score, which is part of the reason why our score was so large, is because our bucket was so light.
Keep the guidelines and extra credit in mind if you're going for the goal.